Tell me when, Mataji. Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome everyone to this Gita reading in memory of Miss Cicely Rollins, the elder sister of one of our dear congregation members, Mother Vilas Manjari, and her family. We'd like to extend our condolences to all the family members at this time. And just, we always like to remind the devotees in every respect that Prahlad Maharaj, when he was offered benediction by Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Nrsingadev had offered him whatever he wanted, any benediction. And Prahlad Maharaj said, I don't want any benediction. I said, this is not a business relationship. I am not a Baniya. I am not a Banik. I'm here just because I am your servant. He said, but if you want to give something, please give liberation to my father, Hiranyakashipu, even though he was considered to be an enemy or a demon, because he was killed by the Lord, of course. And we all know the backstory of this pastime. These are the gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, who are incarnating to assist the Lord in his earthly pastimes. But the instructive point was that when he asked for his father's liberation, Lord Nrsingadev said, what to speak of his liberation? But his fathers, his fathers' fathers, his fathers' fathers' fathers, for 7 generations, going back and in the future 7 generations, would all be liberated by the strength of his devotion. So Prabhupada also reminded us, the devotees, that the good son and daughter who's takes up the process of Krishna consciousness seriously, they deliver all of their relatives, all their forefathers, everyone. So in that sense, we certainly lament their presence in one respect, but we understand that their situation now is guaranteed to take birth in a pious family, Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe, and that in a very advantageous situation for continuing Krishna consciousness. So we're happy that everyone can attend. Again, we offer our condolences to everyone involved and ask everyone to take up the process of chanting Hare Krishna, because this is the universal solace for all, regardless of the conditions. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Matir Astu, Miss Cicely Rollins. And now we'll hear the reading by His Grace Nikunjbihari Prabhu. And I'm sure that everyone will enjoy this discourse, as Prabhu probably gives some very enlightening chapters from the Gita on some elevated status, how we are not these bodies, and that the soul there's never birth nor death. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda.
Jai. So this is our beloved temple president, Hansrupa Prabhu.
And these are our beautiful deities, Radha Govinda.
And he is the one who is engaging everyone in the service of Shri Radha Govinda. Once more, we pass our condolences for Cicely Rollins, to Vilas Manjari Mataji, and the whole family. Let's pray to the 6 Goswamis and begin the program. नाना शास्त्र विचारणे कनिपुण सद्धर्म संस्थापको लोकानां हितकारणौ त्रिभुवने मन्यौ शरण्या करो राधा कृष्ण पदारविंद भजनं नंदन मतालिको वंदे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्री जीव गोपाल को श्री जीव गोपाल को श्री जीव गोपाल को. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of gopis and are engaged in the transcendental service, loving service of Shri Shri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarvrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. So, as you know, that the talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Rishikesh and Gurakesh. As friends, both of them were on same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of other. Krishna was smiling because a friend has chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone, and yet the Lord agrees to be a friend, a son, or a lover of a devotee who wants him in such a role. But when he has accepted as master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master. With gravity, as it is required, it appears that the talk between master and disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. So, Lord Shri Krishna, first time on the battlefield, started preaching to Arjuna. Tadvitti paranipatena pariprashtena sevya upadekshanti gnani tattvanadarshina. So, that was the attitude of Arjuna, that he accepted Krishna as a spiritual master. He assumed the position of a devotee, and with a lot of humble, he presented his questions and looking for the answers from Lord Sri Krishna. And that time, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Ashochananmashosantvam prajna bādāshu bāsase gutasu gatasuscha nanu shochanti panditam. Ashochananmashocastvam prajna bādāshu bāsase gatasu na gatasuscha nanu shochanti pandita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and the disappearances in course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception, ocean of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. O best among men, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, and is steady in both in certain eligible for liberation. Those who are seer of truth have concluded that of non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Neither he who thinks the living entity, the slayer, nor he thinks it slain, is in knowledge, for the self slays not, nor it slain. This is a very important statement Krishna is making. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitavan bhuyah ajo nityashvasatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? And again, this is really classic. Just by giving a very simple example, the whole philosophy, Sankhya philosophy, is explained right here in a very few words. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grunyati naro parani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani jnani sanyati navani dehi. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and the useless one. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of the life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty arm. And for today's occasion, we have to bear in mind this particular verse, which will take away all our sorrows, pain, the dejection of our heart, and whatever we feel emotionally for this particular soul that left us. And that verse is Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mrutasya cha tasmat parihararthe natvam shochatumharasi. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after that one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. All created beings are unmanifested in the beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifested again when annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation? Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting for religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. If, however, you do not perform this religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have led the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Your enemies will describe you as many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you, O son of Kunti? Either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen, I explain it in the terms of working without fruitive results, O son of Parson. When you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from bondage of work. In this endeavor, there is no loss or dominion, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from most dangerous type of fear. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of Vedas, which recommend various spiritual activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth, being desire of sense gratification and opulent life. They say that there is nothing more than this. In the midst of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three moods of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three moods. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. And this is like a crown verse for Bhagavad Gita. Without this verse, nothing could exist in this one. Karmanyevadhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaiturvuma teg sangostva karmani. Karmanyevadhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturvuma te sangostav karmani. You have right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of the action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So, here is a beautiful statement he indicated. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activity. Even though you act, he is on the battlefield, and let's say he is just shooting the arrow and kill somebody. Krishna says, don't think that you did it. Don't try to take credit for that. Don't even try to think egoistically that I kill. In this relation, there is a story about Ghatotkacha. Arjun's brother Bhima, they all had a wife, Draupadi ji, but the thing that Bhima also married to one person, and she was a demon, Rakshasi. So he begat a son in the womb of this particular demoness, and his name was Ghatotkacha. He was the most powerful person in those days. No one can defeat him. And that's why when Mahabharata they were fighting, they did not invite Ghatotkacha, because one person, one single person can destroy all. Not only Kauravas, but even he can control the Pandavas. He was that strong. So they say, if we just call this person, first of all, he's a demon, and he's the strongest, and he doesn't know what to do, and doesn't know who is who. So he will just come and kill everybody, like an atom bomb in the middle of the army. So we don't want him. So he was not invited. But he heard the news, so he packed up and started walking towards the site where they were going to fight. So Lord Krishna, he is God himself, so he knows what's going around. So he says, this person comes, is going to be big disaster. So he went and met him on the way. When he met him on the way, he convinced him that, my friend, you are still a child. Your father is involved. This is between two brothers. Why should we? Even myself, I am not going to take part in that. And I advise you, please stay away. Don't take part in this. So he said, okay, I won't take part. But I would like to see, because I'm a fighter. I know how to fight. And since it was my desire to fight, okay, I won't fight, but can I see it? So Lord Krishna says, yes, sure you can see. But make sure that you don't get excited and just take part in the fight. He says, no, I promise, I won't do that. So Krishna brought him to the site and he showed him this whole ground. And then he was looking around. Ghatotkacha didn't know what he's looking for. But then he found a very tall tree, extremely tall tree on the side. And he says, okay, this is far away, but since it's tall, you can see everything. So Krishna put him on the tree, top of the tree, and he tied his hands with the tree, and he said, you now just watch. Don't do anything, don't make any moves, there's no problem. So the demon is there, and he's watching the whole fight. And he's all excited, and he loved it, just like people are playing baseball, cricket, or football, whatever. And in the stadium, there's so much excitement. So that excitement he was feeling while watching this war between Pandavas and Kauravas. And Arjuna was expert in shooting the arrows. And they won. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Parthor Dhanudara, Tatra Shri Vijyo Bhuti Dhruvani Tirmatir Mama. Yes, of course. Wherever there is Krishna, although he was not fighting, he was just a chariot driver, but his presence was there. Lord Hanuman, he was not present, but he was in the flag over there, on the top of the chariot. So when these personalities are there, likely they are going to win. And they won. After they won, the Pandavas and Krishna took a tour of that place. They saw a lot of bodies all over, this loose wheels of the chariots, lot of weapons around, blood and bones and skulls. And it was a very sad scene of this particular Mahabharata war. But they witnessed and walked through and talked about it. And everybody, in their heart, they didn't say nothing, but Bhima may think, well, that's the person I killed. Arjuna may think, oh, that's the chariot I broke. Oh, this is the person. Everybody, whoever took part, will try to take little credit in their heart while they were going through the whole zone, war zone. And then Krishna brought them to that tall tree. And he released Ghatotkacha from the top of the tree. And everybody was surprised to see him. And said, wow, because he was related, Bhima's son. So everybody hugged him. And everybody said, Krishna, this is a big surprise. We didn't know Ghatotkacha was there. Yes, he was there from day number 1 to the day number last. He witnessed the whole war. Say, yes, yeah. But I discourage him to take part because, he's powerful than anybody else. So we didn't want to disturb the Dhritarashtra or Duryodhan saying that, oh, how can you bring a demon, that kind of thing. So that's why he didn't take part, but he witnessed the war. So Ghatotkacha is revealing something which took out all the ego from the hearts of all those 5 brothers. Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Sahadev, Nikul. Everybody were taking credit for that war. And when Ghatotkacha opened his mouth, they were all very ashamed of themselves. That how can we think that we killed him and we did this and we broke this and we... No. What Ghatotkacha said, that I want to ask you one question, Krishna. He says every time the Pandavas were shooting arrow, the arrow will go, but on top of the arrow there was another arrow, 2 arrows. And that arrow that follows on top of it will hit the object first before the other arrow hits the object. Means if someone needs to be killed, let's say Arjuna shoots, but with that, before that arrow goes to the person, the arrow which is following that arrow will reach that person before and kill him before Arjuna's arrow even touches him. He says, I don't understand what is the second arrow, where it is coming from. And then everybody realized that it was Krishna. By the grace of Lord, they had won the war. No kind of, it doesn't matter which weapon they are using or this, that. But instead of one weapon, it is turned into 2 weapons. And Krishna's weapon will kill whoever they desire to win or kill. So the thing is that they realize that this was the potency of Krishna. Although he didn't took his any weapon in his hand, he didn't fight, but he was a Yogeshwara, Yatra Yogeshwara. By the yogic potency, he shot the arrow, and which will follow Arjuna's arrow or Bhim's arrow or Sahadeva or Yudhishthir's arrow, and will kill every one of them. In the later chapter also, Krishna says that nimitta matram bhava sabhyasachin. Don't worry about it, winning or losing. Nimitt, you become the instrument. I want you to get up. I want you to take this Gandiva in your hand. You pretend as if you are shooting. It's my responsibility to kill that person. Nimitta matram bhava sabhyasachin. He asked Arjuna, and they say, okay, if you say so, we'll do that. So this is the summum bottom of Bhagavad Gita. And that's why they say that anything we do, never try to take a credit for that. Karmanye vadhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana. Any kind of fruits or anything, don't claim that I did and that's mine. It's all God's. It's Lord Krishna's. Now, lot of scriptures, not only Hindu scriptures, but any other religion will accept the existence of God, and they have also said a lot about it. In our scriptures, I have so many scriptures behind it, and for a long, long time, we have been reading from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and so many other books that Srila Prabhupada has translated. And this is just bunch of here for the temple room, but also we have big library upstairs where there are many, many scriptures that Srila Prabhupada translated. So we have been starting reading it. So let's go back to one of the other scripture, what it has to talk about. And it says, due to his particular type of body, the materialistic living entity wanders from one planet to another, following fruitive activities. In this way, he involves himself in fruitive activities and enjoys the results incessantly. So, fruits may belong to him or no, but it's a tendency of a person that he will enjoy the fruits. When the living entity is engaged in the material body, he is called Jiva Bhuta. And when he is free from the material body, he is called Brahma Bhuta. What a wonderful definitions are given. Jiva Bhuta and Brahma Bhuta. So, when you born, what you have to understand, when are you Jiva Bhuta and Brahma Bhuta? So, when you are born, you do have a material body. When you live, you do have the material body. But when you die, what happens? You don't have any material body. We just heard here, just like we take out the shirt and this dhoti and all these clothes away. Similarly, while dying, we give up our body and the soul is still existing. So that we have to understand what is a Brahma Bhuta and what is Jiva Bhuta. In this way, the living entity gets a suitable body with a material mind and senses according to his fruitive activities. When the reaction of the particular activity comes to an end, that end is called death. So what happens that we took birth, then most of the time parents say you have to go to school, so we go to school, they get their degree, and then by the time you are young, they say you have to get married, the person gets married, and in order to maintain the family, you also get a job and is working day and night to maintain the family. And he has the kids now, and again, whatever happened to him is going to happen to the kids. The kids will go to school, they will get a degree, they will get married, they will have children. So this is the cycle. So in this way, the living entity gets a suitable body with a material mind and senses according to his fruitive activities. When the reaction of his particular activity comes to an end, that end is called death. And when particular type of reaction begins, that beginning is called birth. Jatasi dhruvo mrityu. Jat means to take a birth. Mrityu means death. So it is a cycle. That person takes birth, he dies, again takes a birth, then he dies. So that's what is explained here. From time immemorial, the living entity travels in different species of life and the different planets almost perpetually. This process is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Brahmanya sarva bhutani yantra maya maya, right? Yantra rudhani maya. Under the spell of Maya, everyone is wandering throughout the universe on the carriage of the body offered by the material energy. Materialistic life involves a series of actions and reactions. It is a long film full of actions and reactions, and one lifespan is just flashed in such a reactionary show. When a child is born, it is to be understood that his particular type of body is the beginning of another set of activities. And when old man dies, it is to be understood that one set of reactionary activities is finished. So in order to understand whatever happened to Mother Cecily Rawson, at this particular occasion, we have to understand that when a child is born, it is to be understood that his particular type of body is the beginning of another set of activities. Whatever he is going to do, he could be an engineer, he could be an actor, he could be a politician, he could be a devotee, he could be a robber, anything. But that's just the beginning of another set of activities. And when old man dies, it is to be understood that one set of reactionary activities is finished and second set of activities will begin. So, when the eyes lose their power to see color or form due to morbid affliction of the optic nerve, we call it a cataract, sense of sight becomes deadened. The living entity who is seer of both the eyes and the sight loses his power of vision. In the same way, when the physical body, the place where perception of objects occurs, is rendered incapable of perceiving, that is known as a death. When one begins to view the physical body as one's very self, that is called birth. Very interesting. When one says, I see, that means that he sees with his eyes or with his spectacles. He sees with the instrument of sight. If the instrument of sight is broken or become diseased or incapable or acting, then he, as a seer, also ceases to act. Similarly, in this material body, at the present moment, the living soul is acting, and when the material body, due to its incapability to function, ceases, he also ceases to perform his reactionary activities. When one's instrument of action is broken and cannot function, that is called death. Again, when one gets a new instrument for the action, that is called birth. This process of birth and death is going on at every moment. By constant bodily change, the final change is called death, and acceptance of the new body is called birth. That is the solution to the question of birth and death. Actually, the living entity has neither birth nor death, but it is eternal. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The living entity never dies even after the death or annihilation of this material body. I am reading a book by a very famous movie producer, and I thought he must be talking about films and all that. But it turned out to be something that a devotee should read. So I read it, and it was very, very interesting. It doesn't even mention anything about any movies or anything. But we know that they went to shoot the movie in a certain area where nobody used to go there. It was quite a new, the scenery and everything that, they wanted to project to the world, and they found it. And they were very pleased about it. And literally there was nobody, except just one Readin guy was just once in a while walk around. Otherwise, they didn't see anybody there. So they were happy. They found this kind of sight. And at the end of the day, the Readin guy went very close to this movie producer, and he says, whispered in my ears, tomorrow rain. Just two words. He was not fluent in English, but whatever words he knew, he said, tomorrow rain. And he left. And everybody just started laughing because it was a hot sun. There was no sign of any wind or this and that. And so they didn't take him very seriously. And then for the next scene, they are all, the fake cardboards and this and that. They created the whole scenery and they started shooting. And in the middle of the shooting, all of a sudden the wind started blowing and the clouds came covered the sun. All of a sudden it started pouring like cats and dogs and everything was ruined. And everybody, they even didn't know where to go and take a shelter. So they were very upset about that whole experience. And they thought of that guy. And he said, remember that Readin guy, we were laughing? So, yeah, he must be knowing, because he has been living in this area. So he knows this area. And he could somehow detect that there is going to be rain. So at night time, they're all having supper and all that. And somebody suggested, why don't we hire that guy? As long as we are here, week, 2 weeks, whatever, the person can tell us about the tomorrow's forecast. And that way we are safe. So he said, okay. So they gave him a lot of money and said, you stay around here. Whenever we eat, you are our friend. So the man wanted some kind of affection also from somebody, little love. Somebody cares, the drinks and food and this and that. So he became part of the crew. And then next day they set up the big show, but the Red Indian guy says, tomorrow, big storm. So they say, what should we do now? This guy says, big storm. It doesn't look like big storm, but let's see what happens. So they canceled this whole thing. And really there was a big storm. And everybody very happy that we saved everything this time. Now, then after a few days, they had the last scene. So the producer says, I called that guy, Red Indian guy, and says, tomorrow is the most important day of our shooting. A lot of people are actually traveling from far away. They are going to join this scene. That will be our last scenes. We want to show them everybody taking part in the movie. That's our last show for this particular movie. So tell us about tomorrow. So this Red Indian guy, he says, I'm sorry. He says, why? You always predicted the weather, and now you say, I'm sorry. What is this? So he says, I'm sorry. My radio is broken. What it is, that some visitors were there and they left their radio over there, maybe they dropped it, whatever. And this Red Indian guy found the radio and was playing with on and off and all that. And there was weather channel, and it will tell tomorrow rain or tomorrow storm or tomorrow nice and sunny and this and that. And Red Indian guy was really impressed with that. And he was telling the information, he was just passing on the information, what was he was hearing in the radio. There was nothing magic about him. It's not that he was living in that area or he had some kind of intuition that he can predict the weather or anything, or feel some kind of sensation so that he can see it's going to rain or that it's going to be wind or this and that. The producer says, I just imagine that this guy was miraculous. He had some godly kind of upliftment. He's enriched with this kind of knowledge. But it was nothing like that. It was just a radio. The point I'm making, which he also making in the book, that the person starts noting that sometimes we think that the information is not available. Information we have to look for. But just like the radio or the weather channel can give you, only thing you didn't know the source of the information. That's why they were depending on this Readin guy or on the radio. But actually, anything we would like to know from birth to death, all that informations are available in the books of Srila Prabhupada. All we have to do is turn on that radio, listen to Srila Prabhupada, listen to and read his books, and this way we will have the prediction, we will be safe, not for today, for tomorrow, day after, throughout the life. This is what the producer was writing in his books. Every incident that he mentioned, it was amazing. Another incident he mentioned about he was shooting a film and Mother Ganges was there, and at the shore he was shooting the film, and big screen was there. And on the screen, whatever he's shooting, you can see on the screen, just like you see the movie in a theater that was projected like that. So then they will have idea about how the movie is going to look on the screen. So they were projecting there, and all of a sudden they look, and from the mountain, one person was coming down. He didn't have much, not even much clothes or anything, and only one vessel, a water pot, which they call it kamandal. And the kamandal means if you give him little food, he will take in that same pot. If you give him little water, he will take in the same pot. It doesn't carry anything else, that's still a small pot. So the guy came down the mountain and he asked the producer, he's writing his experience, and he says, "Sir, can you fill this up with water?" And he's showing that screen, and the Ganges were flowing. And the producer says, "Sir, looks like you spend all your life on the mountain meditating, but the world has changed. This is a digital camera which projects on the screen. This is not the river, it's just illusion. It's a picture, it's a film." You understand? He says, the real river, the Mother Ganges, is right there. You can go and fill your water right there. But this has no water. It looks like water. It has waves. It may be a fish or this and that, and people swimming or whatever you see. But this is fake. This is illusion. It's not existing. Although it looks it is existing, but it's not. So the man, the meditator who went, the yogi, up on the mountain and was coming down the earth first time after many years, he says, "That's what I want to tell you. What you told me, I exactly want to tell you that even that river that you say that that's a real river and this is fake, this is illusion. Anything you see in this world, the mountain, the trees and the river and you and me, it's all illusion. The spiritual sky is there, and this particular material world is a reflection of that spiritual world. There is a river in spiritual world, that's why we see a river here. But this is not a real thing that you witness. This is all fake. This is all illusion. Brahma Satyam, he says only Brahman, the Atma, the Paramatma, Krishna, that's Satyam. But otherwise, this is all Maya. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So in the book, the producer, without even mentioning any awards or books or this or that, he says, so far, all my life I was just shooting exterior, the good or bad bodies, dresses, right, actions and dramas, sweet words, this, that. I was taping and projecting as movies. But when I see this kind of people who preach me in the religion, that time I am really touched and I owe them. Because from exterior, they took me inside to interior. Krishna has two potencies. exterior potency and interior potencies. So he says, from exterior they take me inside, and then I start looking inside and I start understanding inside. So here is the same thing. Therefore, one should not view death with horror, nor have recourse to defining the body as soul, nor give way to exaggeration in enjoying the bodily necessities of life. Realizing the true nature of the living entity, one should move about in the world free from attachment and steadfast in purpose. A sane person who has understood the philosophy of life and death is very upset upon hearing of the horrible, hellish conditions of life in the womb of a mother or outside of the mother. But one has to make solution to the problem of life. A sane man should understand the miserable condition of this body without being unnecessarily upset. He should try to find out if there is a remedy. The remedical measures can be understood when one associates with persons who are liberated. So I just give you the examples of the people. They know the source of the absolute truth, and they try to share it with you. And that's exactly what we are trying to do through this Bhagavad Gita reading. Under this ceiling, in the sitting under the footsteps, near the footsteps of particular altar, and at the lotus feet of Shri Radha Govinda, it's like being under the desire tree. We just read, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha krupa sindubha evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vancha kalpatarubhya means this particular area that we are in presence of Shri Radha Govinda, this is not ordinary place. So far as I am concerned, this is a kalpataru. Whatever you desire, it happens. I am telling you. Now, nothing happened beyond what your desires are. But that's the purpose of the kalpataru, that whatever you think, what a devotee can think of, a dhoti, a shirt, right, and Bhagavad Gita or some books, a little bit of Maha, that's all, right? And that's, Krishna is keep giving because we are under that kalpataru. There was one guy I heard, and he went to some forest, some jungle passing through, and he happened to sit under the tree without realizing that that was the kalpataru. Whatever desire he makes, it will come true. He didn't know, but he was tired and fatigued after days walking and walking in a unknown place. So he sat under the tree and he says, I wish I was home. If I ask for a glass of water, my wife will go inside the kitchen and in a nice still glass, she will fill it with a cold water and bring it to me, and I will enjoy. And within no time, there was a glass of water, and he didn't give any second thought because so thirsty. There was no time to waste and think. He just picked up the water and drank it. After some time, he says, I'm hungry. I wish I was home. If I was home, my wife would have cooked some chapatis, some sabjis. Yes, my favorite pickle and hot milk. And right away, he saw that plate of lunch or dinner, summer, whatever you call, and he was very happy. He jumped on it, just finished, ate it. And he says, when I am home, there is always some dessert to eat. So right away, he was provided with the plate of dessert, and he enjoyed it. Now, The sun had already gone down and it was night time. It was very hard to see through those trees because so dark. And all he was hearing was the sound of little insects all over the trees. And far away he could hear the wild animals, roaring and fighting and all that kind of thing. So he says, oh my God, it's too late. Now I'm afraid. The tiger may come and attack me. As soon as he said that under the desired tree, the tiger appeared. And I don't know to finish the story. You know what happened. That's the potency of desired tree. And that is why we have this program, that we have been reading through these books and passing the blessings to the families who are in need of the blessings. And they are not right here, but they are home watching us, looking at Radha Govinda, and we pray for the departed soul under the desired tree at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. So thank you very much for joining. We will be having Aarti, and if you are home, if you have the incense, the ghee lamp, water, handkerchief, please try to offer it to Lord. We have sent Radha Govinda to you on your screen, on the laptop, on the TV screen. I don't know whichever way you are projecting it, but he is with you. Please treat him nicely. And if you don't have the paraphernalias, you can even offer him in your mind, which is known as a Manasi Seva. So just think in your mind that you are offering the Aarti to Shri Shri Radha Govinda. So now we'll be singing the Gaur Aarti. And please join. Hare Krishna Mataji. Hari Bol. Thank you, Mataji. Ki bajayo jaya Gora Chande Aarti ko shobha. Ki bajaya jaya Gora Chande Aarti ko shobha. Jhanvi tatvan Jaguman loba. You can play. Jhanvi tatvan Jaguman loba. Dakshin Nitai Chak Bam Gadadharam. Dakshin Nitai Chak Bam Gadadharam. Nikate Advaita Shreni Vasu Chatridara. प्रकटे अद्वैत श्रेणी वास छत्र दारा बसी अच्छे गौराचन रत्न सिंहासन बसी अच्छे गौराचन रत्न सिंहासन आरती करेन ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गण आरती करेन ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गण नारी आदि कोरी चामर दुलार नारी आदि कोरी ताम्र दुलार संजय मुकुंद बासु घोष आदि गाय संजय मुकुंद बासु घोष आदि गाय शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताल शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताल मधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला मधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे। शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे, मधुर 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 बाजे। शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे, मधुर 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 बाजे। मधुर 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 बाजे, मधुर 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 बाजे। हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। बहु कोटि चंद्र जीनी वदन उजाला। बहु कोटि चंद्र जिनी वदन उज्ज्वला। गल देशे वनमाला, पूर जलमाला। गल देशे वनमाला, पूर जलमाला। शिव शुक नारद प्रेम गदा गदा। शिव शुक नारद प्रेम गदा गदा। बाकती विनोद देखे घोरार संपदा। बाकती विनोद देखे घोरार संपदा। शिव जय जय गौरा चंदे आरती को शोभा की बजाया जय गौराचरण आरती को शोभा जानवी कट वन जगमन लोबा जानवी कट वन जगमन लोबा Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshivaya Namah Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshivaya Namah Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः। यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः। गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन। गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन। गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन। गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन। गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन। गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन। गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन। गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन। श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता। श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता। हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता। हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता। श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता। श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता। हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता। हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता। श्री रूप श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ। श्री रूप श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ। जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ। श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ। जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे। जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय। जय गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन। प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। नमो विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सदा भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव सिद्धि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। अंतर्विप मायापुर धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, समावेद भक्तवृंद की जय, गौ प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gaurang. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. प्रहलाद लाद दाई में, प्रहलाद लाद दाई में, हिरण्यकशी पूर्वक्षः, हिरण्यकशी पूर्वक्षः, शिलटङ्कानकाराय, शिलटङ्कानकाराय, इतो नृसिंह परितो नृसिंह, इतो नृसिंह परितो नृसिंह, यतो यतो मिततो नृसिंह, यतो यतो मिततो नृसिंह, बहिर्नृसिंह हृदय नृसिंह, बहिर्नृसिंह हृदय नृसिंह, नरसिंहां गतिं शरणं प्रपद्ये, नरसिंहां गतिं शरणं प्रपद्ये, तव कर कमल बरे नखां अद्भुत श्रृंगार, दालिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानुभृङ्गां, केशवदूतां नरहरिरूपां, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे। तव कर कमल वरे नखां अद्भुत श्रृंगार, दालिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानुभृङ्गां, केशवदूतां नरहरिरूपां, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे। जय नरसिंहदेव, 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 जय नरसिंहदेव, जय प्रहलाद महाराज, प्रहलाद महाराज, प्रहलाद महाराज, जय प्रहलाद महाराज। नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्री राधा गोविंद देव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So thanks for joining the special reading sponsored by Vilas Manjari Mata and the family in honor of Sicily. And we pray that the departed soul will rest in peace. And by this time she must have already started serving Lord Sri Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I have this board right behind me, which is about the Rath Yatra, and we have few sponsors for that festival, which is scheduled on June 11, 12, and 13. 12th June is the real day for procession on Fifth Avenue. So far, the city of New York is not giving any permission for anybody to walk on Fifth Avenue, but as a tradition since last many years, we are giving the permission to walk on Fifth Avenue Rath Yatra. So please join the parade. Not only that, but please try to sponsor this particular event. It's a 3-day event, and we will have kirtan all over New York City and wonderful programs right here in the temple, as well as 12,000 people we are expecting to march on Fifth Avenue. Of course, the time is bad, the social distance and mask may be required, we don't know by that time, but you are all welcome and join the parade, and we have to make a successful parade once more on Fifth Avenue. Thanks for joining this particular reading of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And the program will continue tomorrow and Sunday, 4:30. Everybody will be allowed to get into the temple, and we will have a lot of kirtan, the arti, pravachan, lecture, prasadam, and so many activities tomorrow also. So please come, do not forget to come and join and enjoy the Sunday evening with Sri Sri Radha Govinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram